Okay, next we have an invited talk with Cesar. Cesar, are you there? Yes.
Hello.
Perfect. Hi again. You are in the correct time. Okay, to start, Antonio González García, he certainly is one of the foremost scholars in the field of cultural astronomy, a leader of the new generation of cultural astronomers, I think. Methodical, rigorous, enormously prolific in his work, sharp in his ideas, and especially open mind in all the fields of cultural astronomy. I'm lucky to be able to say that he is not only a colleague, but also a friend. He has, he has a PhD in astrophysics, and he currently holds a tenure in cultural astronomy at the Institute of Heritage Sciences in Santiago de Compostela in Spain. His research in astrophysics has been centered on the formation and evolution of elliptical galaxies, but in the field of cultural astronomy, he has done extensive fieldwork on megalithic monuments in the Netherlands, Germany, Bulgaria, Near East, the Iberian Peninsula. He has also done fieldwork on classical cultures in Anatolia, the Levant, and Western Europe. And his main research lines are centered in the possible astronomical orientation of classical cultures and megalithic possible astronomical and landscape relations of Iron Age sanctuaries, and also the study of orientation of Roman cities. He is president of the European Society for Astronomy and Culture, the SEAC, and we enjoy now his invited talk, Our Sky, the Sky of Our Ancestors here. And you have 20 minutes. The word is yours.
Thank you, Ale. It's my pleasure to be here. And can you see my screen correctly?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. In the next 20 minutes, I hope, I'll try to show kind of summary or recap of the ideas we have been following this session on cultural astronomy, but from a different perspective, I hope. And as I'm a different person, each one of us has a different perspective. It is usually heard in mainly in our field, but also in other areas, that Western society is detached from the sky. We have lost contact with the sky. And if we see a signpost like this one might think, okay, it is completely true. I mean, if we need a signpost to indicate where the sunset is happening, then it means that our society is completely detached from the sky. We have lost contact with the sun and so on. However, there is another way to look at it. I mean, if we understand where this signpost is located and why it was placed in this particular location, we might understand the reasons for it. This signpost appears in a roundabout in nearby one of the main touristic areas in the island, the Mediterranean island of Ibiza. And this island is become famous for its sunset. And many of the tourists during the summer season, they tend to flock and flood the western shores of the island to watch the sunset while they are at the same time listening some chill out and relaxing music. So in this sense, the local authorities, to prevent these traffic jams and well, make easier the life for tourists and locals, they were forced to indicate this signpost for the sunset. So in this sense, I would argue that it is completely the other way around. Our society still is engaged with the sun, with the sky, with watching the heavens, and it's something that is deeply enrooted in our minds. Perhaps somewhat different of what we might call today as astronomy, but still is something that it will be in the realm of cultural astronomy, how astronomy influences our life today. For instance, we might know that this is not only happening in tiny touristic islands in the Mediterranean, but also, for instance, out of pure chance, twice a year, we can see images like this in Manhattan, where the Manhattan Henge happens when the sun aligns at sunset, and some of the streets in the Big Apple are close to the traffic so that everybody can see it and watch it and feel it and take a lot of snapshots and photographs. So then I would tend to say that the astronomy is still with us, very much as we can see, for instance, when the news talk about any astronomy related matter from solar eclipse, planetary conjunction, or some discoveries on black holes or whatever. Our society is really behind us, trying to understand what we say to them. And sometimes this also relates to cultural astronomy. For instance, coming back to this tiny island of the Mediterranean, Ibiza, this what you see here is the western coast, where a rich and wealthy man has built in the past 5 years the first megalithic monument in the island. These stones that they are built next to his house, and that, of course, following what he understands is some parallel to the monuments in southern England, it faces sunset during winter solstice. So in this sense, also archaeoastronomy or cultural astronomy is influencing how our society is viewing, at least part of our society is viewing the sky and interacting with it. And this is precisely the role of cultural astronomy and archaeoastronomy. In a very brief and perhaps a little bit short or naive definition, we could say that cultural astronomy tries to understand the relationship between human societies and the sky they dwell. It doesn't matter if they are present or past societies. Archaeoastronomy, in this sense, it would be part of a cultural astronomy done through the material record found at archaeological sites. Astronomy and culture, in this sense, then provides data and interpretations to subjects that otherwise would be out of research programs, because they are not usually taken into account by archaeologists or historians. Sometimes they try to understand something related to how their remains are located, or they are facing the sun or the stars, but is not their role, and is not also the role of astrophysics either. But such interpretations complement the understanding of human and societies and cultures throughout history that the social sciences look for. Then, in summary, if we want to understand what the astronomy in culture or cultural astronomy is about, if we have a naive understanding or definition of astronomy as sky watching, then cultural astronomy is realizing that all societies have watched the sky. As an astronomer, I would like to know what they have looked at. They have observed the summer solstice or the winter solstice or the crescent moon. But as a social scientist, I would like to understand also how they did it. How was this knowledge built and transferred to any other people in their surroundings? Why they did it? Was it important? What was the reason for that? Astronomy in culture has a deep social interest, as I said. It joins two of the most sought topics in Google, for example, astronomy and archaeology. One of the topics that you will always find in the newspapers sections on science. One example of this, for example, are the new visitors center in for Stonehenge. That the guiding line for these new visitor centers is the solstice, the summer solstice sunrise at Stonehenge, and explaining all the new findings in Stonehenge, finds a way to articulate the explanations with this solstice at Stonehenge. Also, there is a social demand. There is a social demand, as for instance, we can find here, very close to where I'm speaking from now, in Penas de Rodas. These are two large boulders, purely natural, but somebody in the website claimed that these were placed there here by the Romans, that it was oriented towards summer solstice sunset, and people now gather there for concerts and other performances. So people are demanding this kind of events, and then it's easy to fall into esotericism, like we saw a few years ago with the Maya end of the world fever. So it is our role to give material to the people, to the educators, and to the popular science writers, so that the things that they share with the public are at least the things that we want them to get hold of. Finally, as Juan Del Monte was explaining yesterday, there is the Cultural Astronomy and Heritage Initiative from the IAU and UNESCO, where materials, knowledge, and values related to the observation of the sky are put in front of the people, so that we can value some sites like Jodelbank or Risco Caído that are already astronomical world heritage for all of us, and possibly also Chanquillo in the near future. In the remaining time that I have, I would like to give a few examples that out of our investigation of how the results that we get might be of interest for education, for tourism, for heritage management. I will try to begin here in the north central coast of Peru, in Caral, where we find some of the earliest examples of urbanism in the Americas, in the Supe Valley. The most known site is Caral. Caral is a huge site with large pyramidal buildings like the ones you see here, some of them resembling the mountains that they have behind, and some of them also attached to circular plazas. We were there some 4 years ago, and we measured the orientation in the 4 directions of all these pyramidal buildings in 10 sites, and 10 different sites in the Supe Valley, to test the hypothesis if these had something to do with astronomy, the location and the orientation of these monuments. These are the orientation diagram that you can see here. These are the 4 directions for each of the monuments. And the first thing that we noticed, it was that, of course, the river was fundamental for the placing of the monuments, because all of them tend to be either parallel or perpendicular to the riverbed. But also, when we converted the previous diagram into declination, we could see that there are certain concentrations towards, in this case, southeast, that tend to be more important. So focusing only on this part of the sky, looking at the monuments only facing in the eastern part of the sky, we could see that there is no random orientation. There is no orientation at any place, but there seems to be a very significant concentration towards something that is really related with the moon. As we can see here, this would be what we would expect for the full moon of the around June solstice. This fits very well with the orientation that we got here. We believe that this could be understood from trying to be a little bit closer to the minds of the people who build these, because, of course, they had to choose at the same time the site that was perpendicular or parallel to the river, and at the same time facing these lunar events. And these lunar events were important for them first for economic reasons. We find here a chronogram where you can see that this period of time when we could see these moons around June and July, it was the period of a harvest of cotton, the end of the fishing period in the nearby sea, one of the richest seashores in the world, and also it was the driest moment right before the rains start and the flooding of the river starts. So all this, we believe, is something that they incorporated into their culture, and also in a cosmovision that they needed to incorporate into their buildings, so that they could perform possibly rituals, so that the order of the cosmos was maintained somehow. I believe that these cultural these results provides relevant material for education. For instance, for the basics of astronomy, history, mathematics, I wouldn't go into much detail here, but also helps the engagement of the society with heritage. If you talk to them and give them these interpretations where there is much more understanding on the interpretations of some of these buildings, it's easier to engage the pupils and the local populations. Moving now to another of our areas of interest is in Petra, in modern-day Jordan. It is located here. It was placed at the end of the incense routes that crosses the Arabian Peninsula before the change of era, and this made thrive civilization in this area. Not only
you have
devoted
5 minutes. You have
Great,
5 minutes.
thank you, Ale. Not only devoted to the exchange of goods, but also they were masters in the water management for agriculture. They built a huge and magnificent city in this area, the one that you can see here, with lots of facades carved in the sandstone cliffs, but also large public buildings in the middle of the city, with public, possibly collective, and private buildings. These public, collective, and private, they meant for ritual aspects. And when we look into the orientation of the monuments, for instance, the temples, we could find several concentrations that they are mostly related to particular important moments into the calendar of the Nabateans, singularly the equinoxes and the solstices. This could be found, for instance, in the public buildings, that they tend to be in the meridian line, but also concentrated into eastern or at least solar orientations. And we argue that there could be something like a processional way in the whole of Petra, from the Havna, the most famous building in Petra, where we believe that at particular moments in the year, in the winter solstice moon could be seen right on top of the Sikh, illuminating the inner parts of this monument. At this moment, possibly a procession might start going during the night throughout the city, reaching the Winged Lion's temple, a temple that is facing the sunset, the set of the star Canopus, the second brightest star in the sky, and one of the stars that could be used for navigation, for instance, in the desert, and also a star that is also linked with another pre-Islamic temple, the Kaaba in Mecca. And also this star would be seen setting right before sunrise on winter solstice. So we believe that at that time the procession would continue, climbing up to the highest parts of Petra, stopping in the middle, possibly in the Lion's Triclinium, where we find also very prominent light and shadow effect. The sun during winter solstice sunrise would illuminate the inner parts of this triclinium. finally ending by the end of the day at the highest part of Petra, in the largest facade of Petra in the monastery, where we find some of the most stunning light and shadow effects, where only at this period of time you would see the Sancta Sanctorum, where the image of the goddess or the gods would be placed at this moment of the year in a double sunset effect that illuminates this part. We believe that this was connected for sure with the records we have from ancient writings on the religion of these people, but also this provides relevant material for tourism. As I said, reveals new heritage and gives further value to existing one. Engage tourists by revealing new relevant interpretation. If you give this to tourists, you are able as well to obtain a sustainable tourism by engaging the local population. To end, I would like to come back to my place, to Spain. I would spend a couple of minutes talking about Cartago Nova, present-day Cartagena, ancient Hartadast, the original name that it was given by the Punic Hasdrubal, who built it as a capital for their realm in the Iberian Peninsula, in this one of the best seaports in the Western Mediterranean. In the 2nd century, after the Roman conquest, the Greek Polybius gives a very detailed description of this part of the ancient city, describing the 5 hills and their connection to different goddesses and gods of the ancient Punic pantheon. Interestingly, the archaeologists have discovered a number of temples. For instance, this one in the Acropolis, which there is an inscription possibly relating this area with Atargatis, where we find some interesting relations, for instance, with the sunrise from another one of these mountains. This one is Pico Sacro, the sacred mountain. There used to be also a temple on top of it, and we can see the sunrise during summer solstice, a particular moment very important for Punic and the Punic culture. But as I said, this was also conquered by the Romans, and they rebuilt and incorporated in somehow the already existing city and the relations to their own culture. How they did it? With the new layout of the city, with this orthogonal grid, characteristic of Roman cities, that still keeps the summer solstice sunrise connection, winter solstice sunset to the other side. Also in the area of the Forum, we can see that there is a slight turn. I will come back to this in a moment. But when we compare the orientation of Cartagena with the 64 towns that we have been able to measure, founded or reformed by Augustus in the western part of the empire, we can see that the most frequent orientation we can find is relating these the streets of the cities with winter solstice. That is particularly important for Augustus, as we can see in some of the images where he uses the zodiacal sign of Capricorn, the sign where winter solstice should happen at this moment of time. And this was also happening in Cartago Nova, possibly. In one side, we have a summer solstice sunrise, possibly connecting Augustus with the mythical founder of the city in Punic times. But also in the other side, it would be facing the setting of the sun and the setting of Capricorn. Actually, the newly made interpretation center for the Roman remains is using this astronomical interpretation to engage the people through the understanding of Capricorn and how this was important for Augustus and its propaganda. So, as I said, cultural astronomy also provides relevant material for heritage management. it helps the engagement of the society with this heritage, and is a vector to disseminate other aspects of social life. So it might be used by the heritage management to introduce other aspects that might be of interest for the people. So to end, as I said, cultural astronomy engages astronomy with the humanities and the social sciences. It provides a visibility to astronomy into the society, discovers new heritage and provides new value, and provides new and relevant material for education, for sustainable tourism, and for heritage management. The archaeological and the astronomical discourses can reach easier to the society through a proper use and communication of the astronomical lore of our ancestors. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cesar, for the wonderful talk. We have some minutes for questions. You have now one from Walter Guevara. He said, do you know if there is any group of researchers that is investigating the dynamics of formation, evolution, and connection of ancient cultures around their astronomical development?
Wow, very deep question.
Yeah. A broad one.
Really broad one. The thing is that most of the researchers tend to focus on particular, first on particular societies, and then on particular aspects of that of the astronomical understanding of that societies. For instance, usually the most common topic, so to say, from the point of view of archaeoastronomy, it might be megalithic astronomy, the so-called megalithic astronomy. I mean, the possible relation of with astronomy of megalithic monuments. And many people are focusing on this. How this relates to the common, or how this has moved or spread to other societies, I believe we are not yet over there. It would be very interesting to see, for instance, how if we could recognize some tendencies on different broad regional areas. For instance, let's take it from a perspective. From a South American perspective, imagine that you find some particular areas where you have common trends of understanding of the sky in different areas. You might tend to think, okay, is this a convergence processes? Is there a transfer of knowledge? Are there communications so that people engage in, I don't know, commerce or other kind of interaction like marriage, or also that transfer knowledge between different people? This kind of studies on a global scale in cultural astronomy, there are still to be done, I believe. There are some trends and some hints and some ideas, but they are still to be done, I believe.
Okay, you have a lot of congratulations for many people.
Thank you.
But you are very clear in your presentation, and the people don't have questions because your presentation is perfectly clear.
I don't think so, but anyway.
I think the issue about comparisons, it's an interesting one for astronomers to learn about social science, because the difficulties of real comparisons in social science in this broad sense, you need to start with regional comparisons that you say,
Exactly.
Linguistic comparisons inside linguistic families or regional connected societies. It's very difficult to compare in this broad sense at once.
Exactly. By the way, we are trying to do something of this kind somehow with the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was such a big ensemble of different people under the same roof that what has been called Romanization has been thought during decades that erased everything that was before the Romans over there. But in the last decades, we have seen that it was kind of more a dialectic approach. So, okay, you are a Roman, I'm whatever, Celtic people. We can start thinking about how I will incorporate part of your ideas, but I will keep some of mine because they are cooler or something like this. No, so there is a kind of agreement, a tacit agreement that okay, as long as you are part of my empire, I don't care if you call your god, for instance, Kermunos. If I'm a Roman, I will call it Zeus or Jupiter, and we can, if you want, we can agree on call it Jupiter Kermunos, and that's it. I mean, and this give us some hints that even below the roof of the Roman Empire, and I'm using this as an example, there are different understandings of common things.
Yeah, we have here a comment from Susan Hoffman in this direction. For investigating the transfer and transformation from one culture to the other, you need a very correct intrinsic reconstruction of the cultures one by one. And then we need a database on the cultures. Like in astrophysics, to draw conclusions on evolution of stars, we need an HRD and thus determination of individual stars.
Well, yes. If I put my the astrophysics hat, yes, we would like to have a kind of diagram of age and astronomy knowledge or something like this, and see how this relates in different areas, different societies, cultures, and so on, and different transfers of knowledge, and that's it. From the point of view of social sciences, you can say much better than me. This is going to be almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah, yes. You need to consider that they are open systems, but the links among these open systems, you need to avoid speculative histories of connection. You need to find clues of real, actually connections. And this is difficult. And also it's difficult to make this kind of partition in teeny elements of culture to compare in a very broad sense. This is very difficult because you choose arbitrary these units, and it's a bad comparison.
Exactly.
Okay, we are. Yeah.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, we are
that if we try to do this, of course, there's going to be a blur image of this society. It's like okay, a sketch of this society, how it compares to another sketch of another society. If we try to go to the details, it's going to be something completely different, of course.
Yeah. And Carla Perkins comments, Walter, this broad type of research has been done, excuse me, the comments are moved, in Australia, it's been done around Australian Aboriginal cultures. Their societies and culture are inextricably interwoven with their cosmology and astronomical understanding. Yeah, this is a cultural region. Yeah. Okay, a comment also. Also, this will have to include the relevant ecosystems as well as the cultures. And
yes.
Also,
yes, yeah. I mean, the culture is the reflection of not only what the people has on their minds, but also how this interacts with the environment, including the ecosystem, the landscape, the skyscape. So yeah, sure. I see that Juan asked, what is next? Well,
yeah.
Good question.